As you listen to vintage saints and sinners, notice which saints especially hold your attention. Not all of them will. You might particularly connect with one saint, or maybe two. Notice also which saints particularly repel you. The Holy Spirit might be using your discomfort to draw your attention to something you need to see. I suspect that over our lives, each of us is given 2 or 3 or 4 saints with whom to live in particular intimacy. Your 3 or 4 will be different from mine, because you're gifted in ways I'm not, and because you're damaged in ways I'm not. Which saints is God offering to you to help illuminate and burnish your particular gifts, and to help illumine and heal your particular damages? This is a book about people, but it's also about God. It's about God because when you carefully consider anything, a virus, a chocolate layer cake, a sparrow, you'll ultimately see something about the way that thing participates in its creator. That's true of cakes and sparrows, but it might be especially true of people. People are created in God's image, so when I study a person whose life is fully responsive to Jesus, I see what it's like for an image and likeness of God to be in a world like this one. Take Francis of Assisi, who gave away almost all he owned. He was, as Vintage Saints and Sinners puts it, liberated from possessions. The picture of Francis giving away money, books, clothing, sandals, shows me something about my own life. It sets in clear relief my intense possessiveness and my unreliable spurts of giving things away. But it also shows me something about the God in whom Francis participates. Francis's life shows me that God is one who responds to a world in which things can be owned by undercutting and removing the possibility of ownership. Because the lives of Francis and Mother Teresa and Sophie Scholl are lives taken into Jesus, they show us something about Jesus himself. There are 25 saints whose stories are told here, but there is a 26th saint lurking in these pages, the book's author, Karen Marsh, whose saintly charisms include allowing the saints to season her soul. In testifying about the saints, Karen is taking up a well-established bit of Christian choreography. In every generation, there are Christians who have allowed themselves to be especially worked over by the saints, and who are called to introduce the saints to the rest of us. The conversion of one so great as Augustine was prompted by one friend's description of 2 other friends being converted by reading the life of Saint Antony. In other words, even a decidedly circuitous witness to saintly influence can be efficacious. Karen's charism is a fabulism of sorts. In Vintage Saints and Sinners, she's worked a kind of magical realism in which the faithful of the ages are able to walk right into our own haphazardly faithful 21st century lives. And of course, there's a 27th saint here too, or at least a 27th saint in the making. The listener, you. May Vintage Saints and Sinners help you find saintly companions, and may it thereby show you something about how your particular life can be lived in response to the one who created, redeemed, and sustains you. Introduction. Notes from the Crossroads. A Christian is one who is on the way, though not necessarily very far along it, and one who has at least some dim and half-baked idea of whom to thank. Frederick Buechner. I grew up on Sunday school tales of godly Christians who made the grand gesture, brave missionaries like William Carey, who sailed from England to India, undaunted by the perils, exhorting, "Expect great things from God, attempt great things for God." Look into my kindergarten journal and you'll read, "What I want to be, a missionary nurse in Africa." I would bandage wounds from lion attacks and fearlessly preach salvation. That was the future for me. By the time I declared a philosophy major in college, dreams of a trailblazing medical career were replaced by romantic visions of the contemplative lives of Thérèse of Lisieux and Scholastica. I was intrigued by the idea of a nun's cloistered existence, with its peaceful rhythm of ethereal Gregorian chants sung in a sunlit chapel, abundant alone time for reading in a private cell, and suppers of